Okay, that's step one. As you can see, I've gotten comfortable here. I don't know how long this stream is going to be. I need to connect my earbuds. Hold on. Much to do, much to do. Computer. All these Pokemon cards that for some reason are being held in the laptop holder thing. All right. Just charge these earbuds. Going to connect them to the phone. They are connected to the phone. That's great. Okay, so hopefully my voice should be coming in now from those. Now, I access the stream on my own computer so I can read the chat. Okay, here we are. Welcome. Welcome to the stream. We're here talking about Zatch 2, Chapter 4. Very exciting. Let me link this to a few people and we can get started. There's quite a lot to talk about. I wish I had kind of a better presentation here, but I don't know. Could be worse. I think the next step is to get maybe just a better camera. Because certainly I can't. There's nothing I can do to change my room setup right now and have like a good atmosphere or like lighting. Don't need to worry about all that. Welcome, Zatch Gamer. Good to see you here. Thanks for all your tireless work yesterday. Water. Okay. So, I don't really know where to start exactly. I'm going to go to Manga Dex. I'm going to go to the chapter, probably just go through it like we usually do. And see what comes up. Chapter was delayed by about a week, and probably good that it was. Hey, Doodles. Welcome. I mean, I wouldn't even say I'm much of an analysis person, or at least not in the way other people are. But we're gonna get to that, I guess. That's gonna be part of our discussion. Yeah, I mean, Raikou and the team at Bergden Board clearly worked pretty hard on this chapter. Let me know if there's any audio issues too. I think these earbuds are better microphones than the alternative. Any alternative I have, but I know they're not perfect, and I can kind of mumble sometimes. But since it's only 9:18, it means I can speak up a little louder without fear of annoying anyone in the house. So yeah, I hope Raikou's okay. You know, he's discussed having sort of health issues being brought on by this schedule, and you know, I hope it's something that sort of just is, you know, kind of growing pains of getting back into that. You know, I think the monthly grind, yeah, 13 hours. How about that, man? It's probably better than the weekly grind. I can say that for sure. Okay, so first we have our little interstitial page here, which is with the drawing of Kyo, and now that is significant, we know. And it's something we didn't really know before. Which I thought was one of the cooler reveals of the chapter, is that drawing is significant. I just think that's neat. Get my silly putty here. It's just cool. I think it's something that was planned out, and it's a surprising thing. And it's just cool how all that turns out near the end of the chapter. And we start very right in the middle of things here. We've skipped, I would say, kind of a surprising amount. We haven't skipped anything important, but we skipped a surprising amount. You know, they're already almost there at this cave, and that's not really where I expected the chapter to start, but it works. And already you're seeing sort of an indication of what Raiku's priorities are. You gotta turn your volume up. Yeah, like I don't really know what to do for that. I just hope it's okay. I don't really. I can try to listen to it myself. For that. I just hope it's okay. I don't really. I can try to listen to it. Yeah, it sounds. It's as good as it's gonna get for now. I mean, to upgrade, you have to get like a real fancy mic, one of those Blue Yetis or whatever. So, with Raikou starting, sort of skipping ahead to them already being at the almost at the ruins, which are underground, as it turns out, in a cave. Um, that is sort of the first indication of something that I think this chapter really shows, which is like exactly what kind of storyteller Makoto Raikou is, and like what his priorities are. And one of those priorities is just immediacy, and just immediacy, and like just making everything constantly engaging, constantly entertaining, and not having downtime, which is in some ways good and in some ways bad. And I'm going to get to that. In any case, we have some pretty funny stuff at the beginning of the chapter with Wake and Gil. Gil has some memorabilia here, and then they crash the bike, which is that really surprised me. I really didn't expect that. I thought that was really funny. Um, so, first thing I want to point out is we see this sort of slab of stone arrangement, and from this little flashback, we can kind of see that what they did, and it could be explained a little better, is that they followed stones that were arranged in this way. Like there were stones that were arranged in this way. That's really funny. That were on the surface near the town, and they followed these stone markers to the location we see them at the beginning of the chapter. So there's a lot of these stones. And I'm sure some people have noticed this, but these stones, their arrangement is the golden ratio, which I'm not entirely sure how to explain the golden ratio for those who might not know about it, but it's just sort of an artistic concept that sort of indicates perfection, and it's sort of when you have this, it's not quite 2/3, 1/3. It's like a little less than 2/3, I would maybe say. But maybe I'm wrong. Let's look up the golden ratio real quick. I don't even know. Yeah, it doesn't even really. It's not. I have no idea how to actually say what the golden ratio is. Like it's not like a ratio of like 2/3 to 1/3, or I don't know how to illustrate it, but it's in any case, it's when you have a perfect square and then a rectangle next to it. And that's is that where that's okay? Hold on a minute. I think that's actually not quite what we're seeing here. That's interesting because okay, so this is interesting. We're figuring something out here that I wasn't 100% right on this. Or wait a minute, because hold on, I am right. No, I'm not. Wait, because just what I'm having trouble with is that the initial stone slab is a square, which if we're really doing the golden ratio, it should be a rectangle. However, the ones inside still pretty clearly look like the golden ratio. Like you can see the perfect square as it goes inward. Just the initial, it sort of turns into the golden ratio. The first two blocks aren't in it. It's not a perfect square to start. It's a rectangle and another rectangle. But then the next division under that is the perfect square and the rectangle. And then it gets smaller and smaller and smaller, which if you sort of, I don't really know how it works, but if you trace a line through like from the different points to the different edges, the different corners, you get something called the golden spiral, which is just a related concept that is used quite heavily in Part 7 of JoJo. So it is the golden ratio. The golden ratio is involved in this stone marker. It's just not like 100% that. It just starts as a perfect square, which the golden ratio isn't. If you want like a full golden ratio thing, it starts just as a rectangle divided into a square and another rectangle and so on and so forth. What does any of that mean? Maybe nothing. So Kyo says that these markers were built by a guy called Allah the Magician, and this is something that's caused a little discussion in the chapter over why is this guy named Allah, which is just the Arabic, what many of the people in that region call God. I don't know the answer to that. I'm not really willing to speculate. It's sort of a bizarre thing. I do. Someone did post the original Japanese on Discord, and it looks like it says Arafu. Arafu. There's one more character. It's not just Ara. So I'm not trying to question you, Rays, but I want to know is that something like is that how they spell it in Japanese, or like why was that Fu character not translated? Is it just something added on to certain names, or you're more knowledgeable about it than me? So that was a question I had. Yeah, right. Of course. Yeah, the golden ratio. I was going to mention that. That it's a golden gash thing. Yes, that occurred to me too. There are some things that I've been thinking about throughout the day that sort of slipped my mind. That did occur to me. Yes, golden ratio, golden gash. Whether that'll come up again, we don't know. Whether gash will use the power of the golden spiral, we don't know. Okay. Sorry, I closed the chapter accidentally. Okay, so all the magician weird. Will this guy come up again? I think it's somewhat likely. Clearly, this construction down here has, been labored over for quite some time. It's very important. And I don't know. It just seems like he's the human we know from that period of time who had a connection to the Momoto battle, and that seems like someone we would visit in the future, someone we would learn more about. So yeah, it's spelled in Japanese with an added fu. Okay, that's bizarre. Yeah, and you say that you think that it's sort of actually talking about the god, which is weird because that's like, why do they just show like an Egyptian guy? I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to parse, but ultimately not. I think it was a guy. Like that's my instinct. Is like it shows a guy, so I think it's a guy. Like, he's an architect who's called the Magician. Why Raikou named him Allah, I do not know. So they follow these stone markers to this weird bog. And it's such a Raikou thing to do to give everyone except Olmo a freaking headlamp. Like Zelly gets a headlamp, Mippy gets a headlamp. Like it doesn't really make any sense, but like it's just something that I think Raikou and his crew would do because it looks cute and funny. So they descend through this bog and through a complex Indiana Jones type of trap. They come into this chamber. A really beautiful chamber. First, cool 2-page spread of the chapter, which has all the Egyptian gods along the side. I kind of wonder if maybe there's some JoJo references in here that I'm not getting, because we know Raikou's a big JoJo fan. Obviously the golden ratio is important in JoJo Part 7. I don't think I can say that that's a reference, but a significant amount of Part 3 also takes place in Egypt. So I wonder if there's any references hidden here. Something that I'm noticing just now is that the ground kind of almost looks like a map. the ground of this chamber with all these weirdly arranged stones. Looks a little like a map. Could be a coincidence, maybe not. Just spitballing here. Not really much to say about this chamber. It's just a lot of ornate Egyptian imagery with this door with the Momoto symbol on it. And that symbol has come up a lot more throughout really this. It's been had a lot of focus in Zatch Bell 2 more than Zatch Bell 1, this hourglass symbol. And I do think it's pretty likely that we're going to learn what it means. I think some people have speculated that each circle represents a different world or universe. I think that's pretty likely. That's the most obvious thing to think. I don't think the resemblance to an hourglass is necessarily intentional. Mippy, right? Yeah, Mippy does kind of resemble. You're saying Mippy resembles Iggy, right? That is true. He does. He does. Yeah, I haven't seen anything that I would call a distinct reference yet. So Kyo found this chamber, and he did not open. He chose not to open it. He chose to wait for Momoto to arrive, and then he knew he would take them here and open it because he saw the prophecy that in 350 years, when our friend's world will be struck once again by terrible evil, I leave hope behind this door. So he said, okay, if the Momoto world's going to be in trouble, I need to stay here. I think the Momoto are going to come to me. When that happens, I'm going to unlock the door. Now, he didn't want anyone else to get to it before then. That's why he left it locked. So he sort of solves this little sliding puzzle. And I don't know if the characters on the top and bottom are supposed to be like nonsense, because he does remove them. And I also don't know if the characters that are left are really supposed to like mean anything. Like, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think like Momoto writing has been like strictly designed to be translated. I think there are some things, for instance, that the final symbol looks like a sun, and the last word of the second sentence is light. Let us preserve these fragments of life as hope becomes the light. So fragments of life is something that is referenced later in the chapter, and is something that I think is really interesting both for this chapter and for future chapters. What are fragments of life? What form do they come in? How do we use them? We'll see. Maybe they come in many forms. So the door opens, they come upon a new chamber. And I think this, I would say, is maybe the page that has generated the most discussion of the chapter. Because on this page, we see several sarcophagi of many different shapes and sizes, along with many stone spellbooks. So they look like spellbooks, but they just open up. I think they have a cover, but they open up, and it's just a slab of stone inside. They're not normally usable by Kyo, as he soon finds out. So the Saint Sun symbol, it's sort of, there's a bit more to the sun symbol on the books, is there not? I'm not sure. But yes, it is similar. And these sarcophagi immediately caught people's attention, especially because, considering at the end of the chapter, someone is summoned from one of these sarcophagi, the one in the sort of the top center here. And people have got to thinking, well, maybe other people we know could be summoned from these other sarcophagi. Sarcophagi sounds weird to say, but sarcophaguses sounds weirder. So I think I'm going to keep saying sarcophagi, sorry. And normally I'd be a little skeptical on that, partly because that's just sort of my natural way to be when it comes to looking at theories online. I just try to think of things from every angle. But the thing that makes me think that like that's probably correct is this one on the upper right, because it looks just like Pamoon, and even has, as has been pointed out, I believe, by Rays on the Discord, his arms in the pose that he has them in I would say his fairly iconic um, opening first sighting of him in the original manga. Um, Sorry, the sun symbol. I'm talking about the sun symbol on page 15. It's the last symbol in the sentence that forms when Kyo like solves the puzzle to open the door. Um, so yeah, so I can't like immediately identify any of these other sarcophagi as like being, you call them coffins if you want, as like holding fragments or what have you. We're gonna get to it. We're gonna talk about what exactly the purpose of this room is, why it was like when it was made. Um, Other than this small one here, the smallest, the top row, the rightmost one has sort of a ladybug design that looks kind of like Rob's, who would be a prime candidate for bringing back if you're going to bring back old characters who maybe did not get enough screen time, fan favorites, if you will. Um, a lot of these other ones aren't really identifiable to me. Um, the one next to the Puma one does have a very distinct shape, but I couldn't tell you who could maybe be. However, I do think it's pretty likely that people are correct about these being made um, 3,000 years ago to specifically summon a certain chosen Mamoto back to the human world, using, I suppose, these fragments of life. And we don't really know how that works. We may or may not learn how that works. Zatch's fragments of life, he left. I'm just going to go full spoiler mode now because it's hard to discuss without it. He left within Zelly and Omo. We don't know if there was a fragment of life that was already in the sarcophagus, a fragment from one of Zatch's ancestors, just to frag something that represents Zatch may have been inside. We don't know. So Zahara looks at this one right here. You think it has a chip? I don't really see a chip so much. It's got a. I can't tell if that's broken off or if the tip is just white. I guess it could be broken off. It's kind of hard to tell. But yeah, I mean, like, it could easily be Barry. This is that big one here. Oh yeah, it's shown on the top. Yeah, it is broken off. You're right. But see, like, the rest of it doesn't like seem especially Barry-esque. You know what I mean? And I don't even know if the size would be right. You know. Seems like a little bigger than Barry is, but I mean, so much to speculate on, and like, I'd love to hear who else you guys think could be. I mean, I think some people have said it. There's actually, let me pull that up. I'm not going to make you guys do it again. Someone posted on Discord and labeled everyone who they thought there was. Find that. Let's see here. It's a lot of discussion. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Okay. So we had the one at the bottom far right, and my first thought was Rodu. I would love to see Rodu again. Rodu gets a lot of hate from sections of the fandom. I don't really get it. I think Rodu is a really cool and interesting villain. And I wouldn't mind seeing him again. So yeah, there are two quadruped coffins, let's just say, one on top of the other that obviously bring to mind Ponygon and Carudio. However, one of them has wings, which Ponygon like doesn't. Like he flies. He can kind of like jump on the air like a CP9 member in One Piece, but like I don't know if I really see that. And then the one on the bottom is just like could be a line, could be anything. The Discord member by the name of Apple Kicker, thinks the one under the quadruped is Momon, which it does have two pointed bits, but once again, other than that, like not specifically identifiable as Momon. Um, so, I mean, it's possible that we might see Momoto come out of some of these, but not all of them. I know there's some speculation that sort of the arc of Zatch Bell 2 for the foreseeable future is going to be sort of journeying to find, at the very least, the partners of these Momoto, possibly these fragments of life. Maybe we'll need to find one for each Momoto. So I don't know if I buy that, but I think we will see more Momoto come out of these sarcophaguses. So he's on the Pegasus Zatch. Pegasus Zeus gave this son. That's interesting. I never thought about that. That's an interesting thing. Could be. Yeah, I mean, I've said in past streams that when Polygon appears in Zatch Bell 2, he's just going to be a horse, which is going to be like pretty funny. Sue. Barry, of course. Earth could be this big one on the left here. Rops, we have another very small. We have two very small coffins that aren't really very easily identifiable. Then we have one that looks like a small cat, which Egyptians, I believe, did mummify their cats from time to time, or maybe they did the thing where they kept them in jars, like some of the organs. Not 100%. This cat one at first reminded me of the Weasel Ninja from Animal Land. I don't remember his name. That just, I don't really think it's intended to look like that, but the Weasel Ninja is like he wears clothes, but then his head is a different color, which is like how this is. But the Discord user Apple Kicker speculates that this is Barancha, who I would love to see again. Barancha, I think, is a very underappreciated Momoto, really interesting Momoto, one of the only female characters in the battle, one of the only female enemies. So I'd love to see her again. Belgamio, it could be small Belgamio. Oh my gosh, yeah, I mean, Belgamio is sort of mummy-like, isn't he? Yeah, I mean, the one Zahara's blocking does seem to have a pretty weird shape, doesn't it? By the way, Kyo gets Zatch back in this chapter, so, I feel like Zelly kind of needs a partner, and that might be Zahara, Let's get that going. So the sarcophagus room is super interesting, and definitely does foretell many possibilities for the future of this series. Clearly, 3,000 years ago, this chamber was built for use right now. And that's really interesting. This is going into headcanon territory, but I would imagine if this top right sarcophagus is meant for Pamun, then that means that the ancient Egyptians essentially knew that Pamun was going to be sealed and thus was going to be around at this time when the prophecy would be fulfilled. Now, the part of this that verges on headcanon is that I think if I was Pamun, that would be a pretty big deal to me. Because, being sealed in stone for 1,000 years and you get out and you're pretty pissed off, I think it would be quite nice to then know that, well, there's sort of a reason that this happened to you. It's all part of the plan. It's all part of the prophecy. And now you get a chance to really do some good for the world once again. And I would find that quite reassuring if I was Pamun. I don't know if we'll get to see that, but it will be nice. So, I don't know if there's much left to say about this 2-page spread. The stone books interest me because we don't know if that's like what the books actually looked like in the old battle. It's in the current battle game. They seem possible. Yeah, they did show up for the Golden Book also, didn't they? I mean, it makes sense to bring characters like that back, Yeah, like they're popular. I think this is a really good way to assemble the team of beloved characters in a way that seems like somewhat natural. Um, and it's be really cool to get more from a lot of these people. I don't need more Victory really, but Laila is a very popular character. Pamoon is a popular character. People like Danny, maybe that's the ones that Hara's in front of. Um, but the sarcophagus for Zatch doesn't look distinctly like him, which is something we've discussed. It has what could signify like a little bow, and then it also has just a very classical sort of pharaoh-like headdress, which could represent him as the king. And some of those sarcophagi have other symbols on them, which may or may not be significant. The one people say is Ponygon has an eye on its head. The big burly one has like actual like art and like hieroglyphs on it of what looks like they're winged, they're like harpies or something, along with some kind of deer or deer creature or something like that. And then um, the one people think might be Tia has also has eyes on it, which look a little bit like the Eye of Horus, which, as I forget, was it Doodles? Was it you who pointed out on Discord that that is sort of a symbol of healing of medical symbol. Um, could be related to Tia. Who knows? They don't have much time to look at this fabulous room because Gil and Wade quickly arrive, and Kioi tries to get the spell, doesn't work. We see once again that hand symbol from Zelly. It's a very specific sort of claw, almost like a kung fu claw for her spell Bariru, which we'll surely get to see exactly what that creates eventually. Then Gil really gets to show how evil he is, talking about how they burned all the books in the Momoto world. Now, I sort of assumed that the books didn't really exist in the Momoto world. That like the book that came to talk to King Bell just kind of like appeared. It didn't, I mean, we saw that at the beginning of the Gacha Cafe. That's what I always assumed. I didn't know they were actually being held in a library. Hey, Majora Z, welcome. Yeah, you're actually a good person to have in this chat because I know you're just sort of like very knowledgeable about some cultures in particular. Now I can see that you know a little bit about ancient Egyptians at least, so that's cool. Let me catch up in the chat here. Leaf plant motif, okay. Ooh, Gorm. I would love to see Gorm again. What page is this? What page are you referring to, Doodles? I don't know, Majorzy. Lest you think I'm like weird. Like I don't know. I've seen your Twitter. Like I think you mentioned it on Discord a couple times. I have a good memory. I'm sorry. I have a good memory. Page 35. Okay, let me go all the way there real quick. So okay, so we see some more. Yeah, that one does look pretty distinct, doesn't it? Sujino, I don't know. He's the plant guy, isn't he? That one's holding like it looks like it's holding two different. One of them is like the Ankh, sort of an Ankh symbol, and the other is just a straight line. That's interesting. And then there's another that crawls down like this with more Ankhs on it. So to go back to where we were, all the books have been burned. I'm surprised that the books like exist. They're just sitting there in the Momoto world. I thought they were like too magical to kind of just be sitting there. But there they are. There they were. They were hidden. The villains came in and burned them all, and they thought that that solved things. And it kind of did for a while. It definitely kind of seems like whether it's during or outside of the actual time of the Momoto battle, that when Momoto are in the human world, they cannot use their spells without a book, which is sort of something I was wondering. So it's interesting to have that, like, I would say basically confirmed. Um, so yeah, Gil says something really interesting where he alludes to the books causing us no end of trouble. And like, we don't know who he means by us, right? He could mean Wade and these invaders. He could mean the Momotos themselves. Because obviously some Momoto view the battle as sort of a bad thing. Many of the good guys viewed it as a bad thing. Many of the readers still view it as a bad thing. So that's really interesting. The books were on break, yeah. They were just chilling in the library. Um, so Gil may have said, you know, we have all these Momoto who during the battle were saying, I want to end this, I want to end this, I want to end this. Then it ends, and they're like, no, we should still have the Momoto battle because it makes everyone stronger. And it didn't end up causing any real harm to anybody. Well, F that. I'm going to help these invaders burn all these books. We never have to have this battle again. Could be Gil's motivation. Maybe. If by us, he means Momoto. It's a very interesting line. So, they believe they burned all the books. Seems like there's probably more than 100 books in that library. So these might be all the books that have ever been created. How they're created, we still don't really know. But they're gone. And it's funny to see all these books burning. We've never really seen something like that before. So Kyo and Zelly start to use hope. Wade transforms once again. Kyo grabs a pickaxe, starts to fight Wade, still using his answer talker clearly a little bit. Zahara tries to escape, runs into Gil, and this is the point where it really becomes clear, like, that Gil is like way more important than Wade. Right, like Wade's over here, he's a brute, he's like trying to beat Kyo. Gil's over here like scaring the heck out of Zahara. We got a close up of him where we see a really evil face. Zahara says, I feel like I'm going to die if I get too close. I know it's been speculated by multiple people that Gil might have some connection to Clear. Oh, there you go. You just said it, Googles. Did I say Googles? Doodles. That's funny because the Google has a thing called the Google Doodle. Maybe that's why I called you that. So, there's been speculation that Gil is related in some way, whether it be like legitimately related or just related through some kind of other link to Clear Note. This is what I say to everything, like, I don't believe, I don't really believe that. I think it's a good theory, you know. I think it's something that does just sort of come to mind, because they're both villains with light hair. Gil is the only Momoto villain we have in the story at this current point. Logically, he could be as important or as powerful as Clear. I tend to not think so. I think he is a normal, relatively normal Momoto kid that, for whatever reason, got fed up with the battle, with having a crappy life. I don't know. And when he saw these invaders come, similar to Gorm with Clear, he said, let's burn it all down, baby. Let's go. I would love to see more Clear, and I think there is a possibility we will see stuff related to Clear in the future. Clear is one of my favorite characters from the original series. Is Gil confirmed to be Momoto? No, I don't think he is. I assume he is. I think he sort of, to me, him using a spell in Chapter 1 is Raikou telling us Gil's Momoto. It's that simple for me. If you don't believe that, it's fine. Like, you know, there'll probably be more confirmation in the future. Oh, welcome, Zach Leon. Not familiar with you. Are you from the Discord or are you just from YouTube? Because either way, welcome. I like the enemy actually went for the books because there's a clear threat to them. To me, this means this isn't the first time that they attack the demon world. Yeah. Well, the prophecy said that once again, the Momoto world would be in peril, right? So it seems that they maybe tried to breach before, probably weren't very successful. Did Kyo imply that? I still think he's a Momoto. I'd have to go back and look at what Kyo exactly said. I think, but he just looks like a Momoto. He designed. I'm sorry, Gil, not helping my case here. I think he's designed like a Momoto. He doesn't have any specifically weird things about him. I think he's a Momoto, but that's fine if you don't. Maybe I'm wrong. So, continuing on, Gil is scary, but that's pretty much all he is for this chapter. They're getting the crap kicked out of him quite a lot. But then Kyo says something that sort of triggers something within Zelly. And at first I didn't really understand what this was. I didn't understand if this was an actual memory of Zelly. I thought it might just be some bizarre thing of Zelly saying, like, that seems to me like something the king would probably say. I don't know. But no, it is an actual memory, which makes a lot more sense. I'm from YouTube. Hey, well, welcome. That's cool that people are just finding this stream. Welcome. Look at my cool Zatch Bell art print right here. It's not super visible, but it's there. I'm proud of it. Okay. So, this is a really lovely moment, and it's the start of the build-up to the climax of the chapter. Kira says, I won't let any of you die, even if it costs me my life. And Zelly remembers, oh, the king said a very similar thing. And she starts remembering that she had an interaction with the king. Kyo clearly does think that at first she's simply saying, this is something the king would say. He's saying, yeah, Zatch would say something like that. He doesn't know that she actually met him in the past. So Kyo is still determined, the real hero. Starts to fight Wake, doing some pretty cool shit. He makes Wake drag him up, hits him in the mouth, whatever, with the pickaxe. But he gets beat up. And can't, find it hard to stand. But he says, I refuse to give up because it's not what Gash would do. And this really lovely line here. We grew up together and became people we could be proud of. Isn't that right, Gash? Anything like that really references the totality of the first series, I think is really cool. And everything Kyo and Zatch have been through together. My mouse fell. So, Kyo says, we will meet again. He's still confident against all odds. We will meet again, won't we? So then, Zelly fully remembers, says, the king didn't abandon us. And we get a flashback that really I did not expect to get. And this was the point where I start thinking, like, are we going to see Zatch this chapter? Like, is that going to happen? Because if you remember from the past streams, willing to admit when I'm wrong, I didn't think Zatch would show up that soon. I thought it would be another Momoto that came to help them during this fight. I thought it would likely be either Brago or Tia. I didn't think it would be Zatch. However, what did I say at the beginning of the stream? Something to know about Raikou as a storyteller is that he seems to just like, he likes being exciting. He likes doing, I think he likes pleasing the crowd. He likes not taking too long on things. Oh yeah, right, yes. Yeah, I should say that if anyone doesn't know. I only saw the first few seconds of the trailer. I saw up to where the Allah, the magician, the shadow Egyptian man is showing. So I did not see those flashback panels of Zatch. I knew there were color pages in the chapter before it released. I knew it was longer than normal. So even from that point, I had a suspicion, like, could this be it? Could we get Zatch reveal similar to how we got a Kyo reveal in chapter 1? There was nothing at all. Could have been revealed anybody like I thought it would be. There was nothing at all saying that. But we already see Zatch. We see that he's wearing slightly different clothes. We see that he's maybe a little taller, a little older. And at this point, I was thinking we might see this guy, this chapter. So we learn that apparently um, Zelly and Olmo were dead, and that one of the, as He-Man would say, fabulous secret powers that Zatch has as Moto King is that he can actually bring people back to life, seemingly at the cost of parts of his own life. Um, you guys translated it. Zelly actually describes it as a decree, which is a very interesting word to use. It makes it sound like a very kingly power. Um, so Zatch is he's a real one. That guy, he says, you know what? I'm gonna bring these guys back to life. Maybe partly just because he's a good dude, but partly also because he wants to leave it in their hands to travel to the human world and find Kyo. And we learn that he is actually the one who gives the drawing of Kyo to Ziggy. And yes, Mippy arrives with them. He was seemingly not with Olmo and Zelly. Do we see in chapter 1 when we see the flashback panel of Wade attacking? Is Mippy there? Because maybe he just didn't get hurt. I don't know. But Ziggy is now a more interesting character than he already was because he seems to be some kind of attendant to the king. He doesn't really look beat up. Neither does Mippy. So it's kind of like they got there after the fact, you know? I would guess at this point Zatch's magic has already been stolen. It seems like they may have stolen like everyone's magic at once, the invaders, with their creepy giant alien beast. But Zatch still has powers that are bestowed upon him as the demon king. So he uses this power, he shines, probably golden, right? To bring Zelly and Olmo back to life, which imbues them the fragment of his life. Big question is, did Zatch die like right here when he did this? Or, as I think Ray's speculated on Discord, did he then go around trying to save more demons, which is what he says. I'll use up my life to save as many demons as I can. I would guess yes, he did survive after this. And save more people. Right, yes. Thank you for bringing that up, Race. I realized that as well. Zelly's dream about her and Olmo being dead was a manifestation of this forgotten memory. Yes. I definitely think that monthly manga tend to have better planning than weekly manga. I definitely think that that was intentional. I think from chapter 1, the paper was intended to be special and blah, 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 blah. All that stuff's planned, I believe. This is essentially the flashback that I was waiting for. Of how did Ziggy, Olmo, Mippy, Zelly get sent on this quest. It's a fairly quick flashback, not exactly the form I thought it would take, but it is there. I thought Cherish gave them the, the timeline for this is weird, huh? I thought Cherish gave him the drawing, just like she gave Ziggy the jewel. The timeline for this is weird, huh? Like, they steal all of everyone's powers. We got Ted, Cherish, Rain. I want to look at chapter 1 again real quick. Let me find it. Hold on. I'm trying to figure this out, the timeline of events right before the start of the series. So, let's see here. Okay. So we see Rain, Cherish, Ted seemingly dead, Wig standing over Zelly, who looks fine at this point. In the present, she's beat up. This is presumably after Zatch has brought her back to life. Ziggy has the jewel from Cherish. Does he have this in the flashback? It doesn't seem like it. So what happens there? That's a weird thing, right? I'm gonna get into later about questions and answers and speculating and lore, um, and the place that detail has in Zatch Bell 2. I know that might sound like nonsense. That's something I'm gonna get into. Maybe I'll just start getting into it. Um, right now, let's see here. Yeah, that is scary, Zatch Bell Gamer. um, but I do think that there are certain things that really should make as much sense as possible, and just like the basic timeline is one of those things. So I think there's probably some good explanation for all this, but I don't really get how Ziggy, if Ziggy arrives there with Zatch, if he arrived there with Zatch, if he doesn't have Cherish's jewel, when Zelly is already dead, then that has to be after this panel of Wake standing over her with Rain Tad Cherish dead that we see. Yet he doesn't have Cherish's jewel there, so how did he get it from her? He also seems to know Cherish, but that's not that weird. He might have been there before. Still questions to be answered here. Let's get to the end of the chapter, and then I'm going to talk about Raikou as a writer and the current love among anime manga fans of speculation, sometimes to their own detriment, which I think it will be in this series. I don't think this is a series that will stand up well, perhaps under close scrutiny. And I think that's probably okay. But I'm going to get to that. So I feel like they stole all the powers and then started the whole attack on the Demon World. Maybe Wake had teammates around the Demon World. Yeah, I think that's pretty clear. You know, we know that there's other people who have their names on these cards like Wake. We know there's someone kind of commanding them. I call them invaders. I think there's a lot of them. I think Wake's a chump. He's gonna be gone next chapter. Forget about him. Wake's cool, but he's going down next chapter, which is something I kept saying since like chapter 1. I said next time we fight this guy after this initial conflict, he's going down. So Ziggy stole Charged Crystal from Wake. Yeah, that could be possible. I would like to see it. I'd like to see more from that time. Because I think there's more to be shown, and unlike certain other things, like the specificity of how Zatch was brought back to life, I think it's something that probably should be shown. Like I said, I'm going to get to that in a little. After we finish the chapter, after we finish going through it. So, Zelly remembers that the paper drawing is important. She says she was supposed to give this to Kiyomaru. The king wanted her to give this to Kiyomaru. Luckily, Zahara has it. She rushes over to Kiyo. Kiyo takes the paper, and immediately he realizes something special about this paper. Everyone else was able to see only drawing, but he is able to see words on it. And that's interesting. It's like an ascended version of how the spellbooks work, where you can see the writing, but you can't read it. This time you can't even see the writing. It's like invisible ink. The book seems to open on its own, stone book. These bulbs of light, they look like a little explosion. It looks almost scary. It looks like they're dying. Their hearts are exploding. Zelly and Olmo come out. And the ritual. Sort of a ritual, right? The ritual begins. Lights come out of them. They go into this sarcophagus. And at this point you go, this shit's happening. He's coming. It's gonna happen. At this point, you know it's happening. Start freaking out, everyone. Start flipping out. Gil's like, you gotta kill him now because something's gonna happen. Wade attacks one last time. Someone bursts down from the sarcophagus, covered in bandages. Really cool pose like that. You can already see that it's Zatch. You can see the tie. You can see the dark cloak around him. Mostly the tie that makes you know it's Zatch. You can even see a little lightning symbol on his pants, which have gotten a lot of discussion, a lot of mentions from the fans. Uh, what was unsettling? Wade getting obliterated by Zakir. We'll get to that too. Um, oh no, you thought the lights coming out of them looked unsettling. Yeah, yeah. People have talked about the pants a lot, which is really funny to me. I think it's a really cool sort of update to Zatch's Shadai to just say like he grew, so like the cloak now like doesn't fit him, but he still wears it, and now he just has clothes under it. I think that's cool. So this is a really cool panel. This is like a classic. I don't know. I say things are like very shonen a lot on my streams, and like this is very shonen. Like, what can I say? To have like a character do this pose, like you can't see their face. It's like Luffy's Gear 2 pose where he has the fist on the ground. Everyone's crying. Zelly, Olmo knows. Olmo's very happy. He's like, this is it. We're saved. No, I know Zatch Bell's shonen. So it's okay if I say things in it are very shonen. I just use that phrase a lot. Um, so then we see Kiyomaru morph into a page of the spellbook, the first page of the fragment of life called the spellbook. And in the original Japanese, he actually says this in English. He says page 1, which is pretty cool. It's written in English and then with the little Japanese beside it. Something I wonder is the writing on this page the exact writing of Zakir in this book from the first series? Was that writing always the same throughout that series? Like, I don't even know. Like, I never thought to check. Like, does Zakir always look the same when it's shown in the book throughout the entire series? Obviously, it grows from a small, like a couple lines to a whole page at one point. Does anyone know? Page turns a stone into an actual spellbook page and all, does it? You're right, I think it does. Okay, cool. Part of the ritual. Excuse me. Yeah, Gil's just doing nothing throughout all this. Yeah, I don't think there's got to be a secret limit to whatever his power is. Yeah, it's either that or he's just not actually very strong. We'll see. But he is scary, so presumably you're probably more correct that he can't use his power for some reason, or maybe he just like doesn't want to. He thinks he's better than Wade. He doesn't view this as being a dire enough issue for him to use his powers. I don't know. Yeah, if you can check, please. I'd love to know if that's consistent. If it isn't, doesn't matter. Which I'm gonna get to. I keep saying that. I'm gonna get to just saying just stuff like that, like consistency and blah blah blah. We're just about to get to, just about to finish the chapter. So Kyo says the first spell, and you see Zatch looks back and like, yeah, I'm here. What's up? It's like, yo, and they fire. Beautiful spread, lovely spread. Just, I don't know, it's awesome, right? The book is glowing red. The book is red. The book is red. It's glowing red. It has turned into some version of Zatch's red book. The Zatch, we don't know what he did. We don't know if he took a page out of his own book before they were burned and made it invisible and did a drawing on it. We don't know. But Kyo has some version of Zatch's book, probably with only one spell in it. Maybe not. And Zatch is here, dressed in blue, which, as I said on the Discord, is something that I like didn't process. Was like, now he's blue. He's blue like in the anime now. He was always green in the original manga, and that's like a really big deal. It's like really kind of crazy to see like once you realize it. So Wade is not faring too well against this little Zakir. As you can see, his weapon is sort of disintegrating. It looks like other parts of him might be as well, but it's kind of hard to tell. We're going to see next chapter if he's just fully already beaten by this Zakir, or if he has a little fight left in him. I think he's going to have a little fight left in him. I think he's going to be messed up by this Zakir. He's going to fall pretty easy, but it's going to take a little bit. We're going to get to see some action with Zatch and Kyo. So it's so cool seeing Zatch again. It's insane seeing Zatch older. This obviously isn't like the best look at him. This is like an action shot. We're gonna get better looks at him next chapter. Um, his face kind of looks the same, but I do believe he is supposed to be older. I would guess he's 12 to 14. Um, he's short, but he's taller, which necessitates more clothes since his cloak doesn't cover his whole body anymore. Um, and I love his new design. I think it's really great. It's kingly, but it's also just, I don't know. He's got the same shoes. He's got the cloak, the tie. It's very Zatch. Um, and he's got these weird bits at the bottom of his pants that is like these weird solid bits that Raikou loves to put in like all of his designs where you go like, is that like heavy to wear? Like, how's that work? Raikou loves that. Um, and they are very nice pants. People have been talking about them so much. They're quite nice. Sure, they cost a lot. Wonder if they have to start over again. Their old spells are getting new spells entirely. I mean, Zatch is older now, so his power set might be different from when he was younger. It's a good, good. I don't know if I would say point, but it's a, good thing to think about. I was thinking that too. Like I said, I do think the book only has Zakir in it. How they're going to get more power, I'm not entirely sure. Something I think may happen. Okay, so Zatchbook Gamer says took some time to verify, but yes, it is the identical symbol layout for the Zakir page. So that's cool. I like that. Something I think may happen is for Zatch to get like Val Zakir armor, which might end up looking like a little Knights of the Zodiac, which might be a little silly, but that's something I might kind of want to see. I was speculating since chapter 1 that the general abilities that are used and the way the fights are done in the series might be different from the first series because we won't really be casting spells. We are casting spells now, clearly, but I still feel like things may be different. So, Zach Leon, I think we may see that in the future. Okay, so that's the end of the chapter. Beautiful Zakir. Wig is done. Is in the process of being done. He's well done. It's being cooked. He's gonna go down, and I think next chapter we're gonna see Q and Zatch. I think probably pretty excitedly, rejoice. I think we're gonna see Zatch's silly side pretty quickly. And I like that up to now we've seen him be serious. His world is in dire straits. His world is in peril. He needs to be a king. So I like that. But I think next chapter we're going to see that he's still a kid. I don't think he's older than 14. So that's going to be fun. So it's a really great chapter. Before I get to my whole thesis that I've been teasing like 80 times throughout the stream, I want to see if there's anything else I have to say. I don't know if there is. Hard to say exactly how many years have passed. I think we will learn sooner or later. I think next chapter we're going to see the end of this fight with Wig, and then we're going to learn more about Gil. Whether we spend the entirety of next chapter in this room, in this cavern, I don't know. Kind of have a feeling we'll be out of it by the end. But I do think that for everyone who is speculating about like, okay, so the journey of Zatch Bell 2 is going to be them finding these other Momoto to bring from the coffin, finding these other fragments of life. I think we're going to learn whether that's the case or not by the end of the next chapter. Okay. Yeah, Wake seems to have most of Zatch's spells, or at least several of them. So what's this gold inlay? This gold inlay everyone's flipping out about. Yeah, that's at the top of his cloak. Yeah, that's cool. That's a new feature. Wow. I can smell food. Like the air just went on in my room. I can like smell food from the kitchen downstairs. Like just not only right now once the air went on. So that was bizarre. That's a very good bit of speculation, Zatchbell Gamer. The letters that the human partner received at the end of the previous series will be involved in this new ad secret page to the book concept. Yeah, I mean that could easily be something that Raikou does, saying, "Oh, we all kept our letters. We all kept them right here." um, excuse me. Okay, so let's get to what I've been teasing here, my little thesis of this chapter. There's something I think this chapter makes very clear about Raikou as a writer. So I said Raikou is a writer who favors immediacy, who favors making things immediately engaging. And when I say he favors that, I mean that's a priority for him. And some people might see this as an issue because this is a chapter that makes you think of a lot of questions if you're reading. When did Zatch die? How exactly did he die? Many other questions. The sarcophagus is the ritual. How did they know 3,000 years ago? Is the timeline even right? 3,015 years from now? Is that correct? Weren't the old battles supposed to last a really, really long time? Why would it be exactly 3,015 years? Does that really make sense? Right? A lot of questions people have. And I want to warn you right now, there's nothing really wrong with asking those questions, but you might get burned. Because that is not Raikou's priority as a writer. Okay? He likes things to be bold, and he likes them, I'm going to say, to be simple. Zatch Bell, the original manga, and so far this one are relatively light on plot. And that's not an insult. Their plots are pretty simple. Things happen quickly, and things do get explained, but they never take too long to get explained before we're on to something else that is exciting, because I think that's what Raikou wants to do. The entire second half or latter third of this chapter has some explanation and a lot of elements being introduced, but what it is supposed to be, what it really is a really well done and dramatic lead up to the return of Zatch. It's maybe we shouldn't have hope. Wait a minute, yes, we should still have hope. Oh, this drawing's important. Put it in the book. Boom, boom, Zatch back. Super exciting, super good. And that's why I don't think this is an issue. Raikou doesn't need to pause to explain things as this is happening. If he did, it wouldn't be as good. It wouldn't be as emotional. Like Doodle says, it's always been the emotional stake, not the story. I think a lot of us do understand it. I think some of us, even if we do understand it, might have misgivings about it. Might say, well, I wish that I knew a little bit more about the timeline. I wish there was a little bit more about the lore. I have a lot of questions about things with the characters. I've seen people in the fandom say that they wish there were more points in the original series where the characters were just spending time together and hanging out, and I get that. I understand that. However, that's just not where Raikou's priorities are. If the characters are hanging out, it's either going to be like really funny and silly, or it's going to be just the beginning of a story when it gets interrupted by Penny stomping on a sandcastle or whatever. And that's who Raikou is. And really, that's kind of a big thing about the shonen genre in general that I think people maybe don't realize. People would say, people in the fandom, all these other series have data books. Why doesn't Zatch Bell have like these detailed data books with sketches and insider information and all these all these stats about the characters and what they like and dislike and their ages and their heights and then who they like and whatever. What these people might not realize is that like I feel like that's kind of that sort of level of detail is like a relatively new thing for shonen. I think One Piece was like almost in a way like kind of the first to do it. And One Piece is still like the undisputed king of that if you know what the Viver cards are of One Piece. And yes, like you say, dude, Zatch Bell does have data books. They're kind of old and I don't think they reveal all that much. They certainly, some fans have been left wanting, as I have heard from those data books. So both that level of detail and like complexity in the world of a manga or in the power system of a manga, like there's a reason that like Nen in Hunter x Hunter is like viewed as such an amazing power system because it's like the most detailed we've had like so far in shonen. Um, and not many other shonen power systems have like that level of explanation to them. And so people might sort of, you know, get it in their head that like, well, Zatch Bell should have these things. But like guys, like Zatch Bell started in 2001. Okay. Raikou started writing manga before that. And I don't think he's going to change at this point, and that's okay. Um, and I think this is something that's going to keep coming up because I guarantee you, some of the things in this chapter that haven't been explained are going to get explained. Some of them might not be. It's just the way it is. Um, you know, I'm glad to see you guys in the chat sort of agreeing with me on this. But if you know, if you occasionally have a thought, and you know, I occasionally have a thought like, well, I wish this was like a little more like well constructed and like put together like a beautiful like Lego set, or you know, um, even I feel that way sometimes. But then I realize like that's not where Raiku's priorities are, and like Raiku's priorities, you know, it pays off. It's immediate emotion. It's not deep necessarily, not in that way, but it is deep, right? I mean, it hits you deep, you know. Um, so it just you know all about how you think about it. And just for anyone who watches this in the future or whatever, who's like worried about that, it's like, why isn't like Raikou, like, who's he writing this for? Like, and I'm sorry for this. Sorry for doing that voice. It's not like helping me saying like, oh, I'm sympathetic to everyone who thinks this. I love One Piece, but I think people do look at some things Oda does with it, and you know they expect that from other series, and they shouldn't. Like, shonen's been you know a genre for young boys, um, and a lot of things that you know have been exhibited by series like One Piece and Hunter x Hunter and Death Note and series that have like a lot of like character depth and like downtime, like Chainsaw Man, for instance, where like characters getting to know each other. Like that's not like normal for a shonen. Like Zatch Bell is like the normal state of shonen, pretty much at its best. Um, Teen Titans is what taught me that what would look like loose ends aren't necessarily important elements to the main story. I assume you're talking about the final episode of Teen Titans, which is a really great episode, a great message. Um, that you know sometimes what's on the surface is kind of what's important, and you don't always need to like look deeper and have like things like super well explained. So that's the thesis. And I think this chapter just makes that like super duper clear. Like I said, like right from the start, we're already skipping quite a bit, sort of showing it in a flashback. They followed a lot of stone markers here. We go one chamber, we go another chamber. We don't learn a lot. We just look at everything. We get brief descriptions of it, and then we have a battle sequence that is intertwined with these moments of realization from Zelly and Olmo, and that ends with Zatch coming back, which is a great scene. Um, and yeah, so just keep that in mind for the future of the series. Um, you know, I think we all wanted Zatch Bell 2 to have a more complex story than Zatch Bell 1. I think it very well still could, but if it doesn't, if it's at this level of quality, can't complain. Yeah, who Red X is? Right. Teen Titans did do that quite a bit, didn't it? Love that show. So that's my thesis. That's my message. To Zatch Bell fans everywhere. Sorry if it sounded a little forward. I think it's something people need to hear, and I think you'll get more enjoyment in the future out of the series if you just roll with it. I think things mostly make enough sense. There are some things, like I said, you know, when I say I feel this way too, sometimes I felt this way earlier in the stream when I was like the timeline of like when Ziggy arrived and got the jewel, like doesn't really seem to make much sense to me. Yeah, that's a really good question, Touchball Gamer. I don't know that either. How long the series is supposed to be, like we really can't tell at this point. I would think it's going to be pretty long. I would guess at least as long as Animal Land, which is still half as long as the original manga, less than half as long as the original manga, but it's long enough. Um, I think that's a lot of what I have to say about this chapter. It's so cool to see Zatch back. Um, I didn't think it would happen this early, and that's like I said, I wasn't like, you know, I don't think that's Raiku's style. Um, I'm on the verge of saying like, oh, but it's going to be a while until we see anyone else. Like, who knows if that's true? We might see another human partner at the end of the next chapter. So I think that's everything, right? Is there much more to say? We've gone through the chapter. We've sort of discussed mostly like the way I discuss things is like I bring up a lot of stuff and just kind of throw it out there and leave it out there. Because like I'm not a guy who's going to speculate a lot and say like, well, I'm speculating this very specific thing. Um, but I think this is a really exciting chapter that bodes really well for the series in the future. Even if like if I was writing this story, like I probably wouldn't have brought Zatch back here. It would have been Bravo, it would have been Tia, whatever. Zatch was still brought back in a great way, where we saw that he was willing to use his own life to help his people. Um, so yeah, really great series so far. I still kind of can't believe. I mean, seeing Zatch, and especially next chapters when it's going to really sink in. Like this is Zatch Belt too, because like Zatch is here now, and we're gonna see him like talk with Kyo, and like they're gonna have a bro hug or whatever, right? We're gonna see them cast a care over and over again and destroy Wig. Maybe we'll see Demon Face. If Gil pisses off Kyo, there's a pretty high Demon Face percentage that we're looking at the next chapter. Yeah, you've had some Yu-Gi-Oh. You've mentioned some Yu-Gi-Oh comparisons, obviously with the Egypt um, references. Um, yeah, I mean, like the extent of this ritual that brings Zatch back, a lot of it could sort of be explained as like it's just a power Zatch has as the king. I don't know how much deeper of an explanation we're gonna get than that. I think we'll get some. Um, but yeah, Zach Leon, I thought the same thing. In my previous streams, I definitely thought it's going to be a while until we see Zatch. We're not going to see him. Like I've said previously, I thought it was going to be either Braga or Tia at the end of this chapter. Um, but I think next chapter is like I said, I think going to be pretty focused on Gil. We're just going to continue learning things. We've got a good amount every chapter. There hasn't been a dud yet, and it's kind of hard to make a dud. Every chapter you have is fairly long. Can't believe we have to wait another month after getting Zatch back. Um, but it was great to read and a great way to bring him back. And cool to see it animated. I mean, let's not get into that. It would be cool though. I think depending on Zatch's age, if he's only 12 to 14, you could probably still have Ikue Otani voice him, just with a different affect. Uh, if he's older, though, you could switch a voice actor to a guy. I wouldn't have an issue with that. I think that was a weird thing they did with Goku in Japan, where he grew up and they still had him have the same woman as a voice actor, even though Goku was like a big burly dude. No, well, he's fairly skinny, but he's muscular too. Yeah, yeah. I know. I said anime. I shouldn't have said it. I'm super happy with what we have right now. I love the color pages. Um, and I'm gonna love seeing what Raikou brings up. It's a really interesting sort of construction how he's done this, where the entirety of these first four chapters has sort of been like an expanded version of the first chapter in a way. But it's the rise and fall, hope, despair. Um, Kyo brought hope, and now Zatch is bringing it again. And I think Zatch knows a little about these sarcophagi. I think he read about it. I think he knew that if Kyo found Ziggy Olmo and Zoe, that would lead to his resurrection, and that's resurrection, by the way, is something that's been speculated on, talked about. How what's once again, like, what's inside the coffin? Like, is it a doll that transforms into Zatch once his fragments go into it? Is it a clone of Zatch that was just there, fully formed? Is it one of Zatch's ancestors who like transformed into him? Is it magic? Is it nothing? I don't know. Rumors of my death are greatly exaggerated. That's kind of a crazy thing, right? It's like so much speculation over Zatch being dead, and like in the span of like a third of a chapter, we've learned that like he actually was dead, but now he's back, so it like doesn't matter anyway. After like so much speculation, like I really thought, and I really like, once again, I really like this chapter and what's happened in it. But like I really thought there's gonna be like this whole journey of like how do we bring him back if he was dead, which I wasn't 100% certain about. Yeah, Zatch. I remember that. I remember that. That was cute. Yeah, Zatch trying to drop Pony down. That's funny. How about that? Yeah, I love, like, I hope that drawing of Kyo becomes like kind of a symbol of this series. Kind of is already, you know. Okay, so before I start like having moments of silence where I can't think of anything to say, I think we're gonna cap it off there. This has been a stream that's been longer than usual, which makes sense. And we've had 4 viewers, which is like more than we've had before. I'm both proud and somewhat ashamed to say. Thanks for tuning in, Zatchbook Gamer X, Doodle, Zach, Leon, and Major Z, who I'm not sure if you're still here. Thanks for tuning in. Zach, Leon, let me know if you want a comment or something. Let me know if you want to get on the Discord that all of us are in. Actually, the 3 of us are all mods in the Discord, which is like gives the stream like kind of a weird thing. It's like, what are we, just like 3 pals who like have the stream together? No, I would love for like everyone to come in here, but they don't. I've had my friend, another of my friends in here at, a month or 2 ago. I'd love to gain viewers as the months go on, and in future months I am going to be doing the streams the day after the chapters come out to give people time to read it on Manga Dex. So it'll probably be around the day after the chapter comes out at 9 p.m. in the future. So thanks for tuning in. Long live the king. And let me get right up to the phone so I can turn this off. Okay. Thanks for watching. And oh gosh, it's gonna be weird. Here it is. All right, thanks for watching, everyone. Got to figure out how to turn this off now. Okay. All right. Have a good night. Bye.